There is nothing quite as humbling or as awe-inspiring as producing a podcast, for those who live through it anyway.
Welcome back to Between Pages and Friends, a book club podcast hosted by Con and Lauren, two besties who read a lot of books, and Jon and Kyle, their adoring husbands who've been sweet-talked into reading all their favorite books with them. I'm Kyle.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Con.
And I'm Jon. This is episode 4 of Fourth Wing, where we're discussing chapters 26 to 32. And if you're new here, this is a book club style podcast, meaning there will be no spoilers for future chapters or books, so it's a safe space to read along with us. We'd love for you to share this podcast with your book besties and or significant other as well, so you can enjoy this epic series together too.
Additionally, this is your mild content warning. Fourth Wing is a new adult book, meaning it was written for audiences 18 and up. We will be discussing lots of themes and quotes from this book that include high voltage death, high voltage sex, and how to achieve multiple orchestral pieces at a party.
And if you're a fan of this episode and can't wait for the next, you can join us on Patreon. You'll receive early ad-free access to new episodes, along with a delightful community of other book nerds, live events, monthly book club, merch discounts, bi-weekly D&D nights, and tons more.
Lastly, the best way to support any podcast is by writing a review on Audible or Apple Podcasts. It only takes a moment, and it leaves such a lasting impact, helping our show reach more book besties. And here is a recent 5-star review on Apple Podcasts from our new bestie, Lithaga-Ritaga. Lithaga-Ritaga. Lithaga-Ritaga? Lithaga-Ritaga. Titled My New Book Besties. My favorite podcast by far. So much fun and some great conversations. I have immensely enjoyed following along your Throne of Glass journey, and I'm so hyped for Fourth Wing. Thank you for quality entertainment. Ooh. You guys are the best. Thank you. And welcome to Fourth Wing.
Yes, welcome.
Here's Con with a pronunciation guide. I'm going to throw that name under this pronunciation guide, see how you do with it.
Yeah, Con. Told you there's no audiobooks for the reviews. Welcome back to the Pronunciation Guide, where we're referencing the audiobooks narrated by Rebecca Soler to highlight all the new names and places mentioned in this chapter section. First up under places, we have Cranston and Montserrat. Montserrat is the outpost our squad visits in this section. For characters, we have Major Quaid, who gave them the grand tour of the outpost, and then Messina and Exal were the two other riders stationed at Montserrat. For text and excerpts, we have the recommendation for award from Major Potsdam to General Sorengale, and then the royal proclamation of King Tauri the Wise. And lastly, in events and world building, we have Reunification Day, July 1st, the anniversary of the Battle of Aratia. And here's Jon with a recap.
And here I am. Wherever I go, there I am. And where I am, I'm also going. Because I went and now I'm there. But if I go again, I'll be there, which is here, but also where I'm going. So really, I'm always here and there. And wherever I am, there I will go to be here again.
Wow, that's so deep.
Are you okay?
Do you need a GPS or a hug?
Listen, you don't need to understand it, but I think I've mastered the art of being lost and found at the same time. All right, Vi's squad has won the War Games. Their prize, a week-long, all-expenses-paid getaway. Well, actually, it's just a week-long tour of a forward outpost, but hey, who's complaining? And Mira, of all people, is stationed there. Sisters unite. It's also very close to Rhee's home, so her and Vi plan to sneak away to visit Rhee's family. Mira catches them, of course, but Violet persuades her to accompany them. Rhee gets to visit her fam. When they leave, Xaden is there. You know, the whole Dragon Bond thing, right? Pfft, yeah, right. The following day, Mira takes the squad through a battle scenario at the outpost. Dane and Xaden have a little pissing contest. After the meeting, Mira meets with Vi, Dane, and Xaden, basically telling them all that they all need to figure things out and get their shit together. Just at that moment, they get a warning that a group of griffins are headed to attack the outpost. Dane and Xaden barely get the squad, particularly Violet, who wants to stay and help barely get them out in time. Back at Basgiath, they wait outside Markham's office for the news of the outpost and the attack. Obviously, Vi very concerned for Mira. He reports damage to the outpost, but no riders lost. Violet starts to ask more personal questions to get to know Xaden, and then it's time for the War Games. Violet's squad is on defense and offense, keeping a flag away from the other squad while also trying to steal the squad's crystal egg. Xaden has a saddle made and ready for Violet with Terran's help. And the games start. Violet finds where they're guarding the egg. As they fend off a couple dragons, they see Liam and Jack in battle. Jack leaps onto Liam's dragon, stabbing him and kicking him off. Violet uses Andarna's time freeze to save Liam, passing him off to safety and going after Jack. And in a lethal surge of raw power and emotion, Violet's power finally reveals itself as a streak of silver lightning smashes into the tower where Jack is celebrating, bringing it down on top of him as he and Rebel careen down the mountainside. Joyous, joy, utmost joy, yes. And Taryn cries out in victorious pride, "Lightning wielder." Amazing. They emerge victorious. Violet is hit with conflicting emotions. Is Liam alive? I just killed a man. Newfound signet power, all the above. Dane tries to baby her, and Xaden thankfully steps in and tells him to knock it off with all that talk. Xaden talks her down a bit with sensible wartime wisdom. And then it happens. Yes, that's right. I'm talking about Chapter 30, which I will now describe using only emojis. Pointing finger, winky kiss face with heart, door, confused face, hush face, kissy face, fire, rock, fire, chair, kissy face, eggplant, pleading face, peace sign, one ticket, lightning bolt, chair, eggplant, 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 lightning bolt, silhouette, fire, shouting, silhouette, silhouette, chair, door, chain link breaking, exasperated face, exasperated face. And that's Chapter 30.
All right.
Clap emoji.
Afterwards, she sees all the silver scars on his back, 107 to be exact. He took responsibility for all 107 kids, and that's why they're allowed the chance to try for their lives as a writer. Violet starts lessons with Carr. Tidying her room from the steamy night before, she finds a cryptic note from her dad in the Book of Fables that Mira returned to her. While Xaden is there, they discuss their relationship. Xaden acts indifferent, distant, he's got his walls up, but Violet defends herself and her feelings. Respect. She continues to press him about opening up or admitting his feelings. She considers the possibility of there being someone else. When he doesn't give an answer, she shuts him out. Good for her. They have the big party. Her and Liam talk briefly with the king. Then they duck out, which is one of the more noble things Dane has done in the book so far, to be honest. Violet looks for Xaden, and he's just hanging out on the parapet. Then we end with Chapter 32, which all I have here is, God damn! And that's your chapter recap.
Amazing, as always.
Wow.
All right, Chapter 26. We got a lot tonight. I'm
We
excited.
got a lot. We got
A lot to talk about.
Chapter 26. My first note was when they're at the outpost on their tour, Riddick is kind of being funny. Dane gives him a look, and it says, Violet, my smile fades away. And then Dane notices her change, and he says, what does that look for? And she says, what look? And he says, the one where someone just sucked the joy out of your world. And I said, well, you are standing right next to her, so seems like a rhetorical question, Dane.
Take a hint, buddy.
Yeah, for someone who can read minds.
Can't read the room.
Can't read anything else.
Except for the codex, apparently.
I was just going to say that, but I was drinking my water.
Well, because they say too, like people's signets have to do with them. Does he supposedly good at reading people? Because no, he's not.
That's interesting.
He's a know-it-all.
He can read people's past. Maybe it's only in retrospect that he's like, oh yeah, I messed it up.
Maybe it's because he's bad at it, and the dragons
Yeah.
are like, here's
You're
a
gonna
signet
need
that
this.
might help.
Kind of like an intrinsic, but it's not a full intrinsic. You're just bad at being an actual intrinsic.
I need you to be able to read people's minds, but I don't need you dead. So I need you to just, yeah, yeah.
Oh, Dane.
Oh, dang.
My first note here was from this very sweet moment when Violet sees Mira and she like runs to her and they hug each other and Violet almost starts crying and I almost started crying because this was so cute. This reminded me of the first time that I came home from college. I ended up super last minute moving to a school that was like a 10-hour drive from where I grew up, and I had moved a lot, but I had always lived in the same kind of area. And so
Sorry that was so horrible for you. Since you know that's where we met.
That's not what this is about.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But the first time I came home from that school after like moving there super last minute, the first couple of months were just kind of crazy. It was a totally new experience that I just like wasn't expecting because I was planning to go to school somewhere else. I drove home the, 9 or 10 hours for Thanksgiving break, the first time I saw my brother, like I walked into the house and for some reason it was seeing my brother, who he and I were really close growing up, that like all of a sudden it all just hit me and I cried. And at that point in my life, I never cried. Now that I'm a mom, I'm a sap and I cried everything. But at that point in my life, it was very rare for me to cry. But I had this like really emotional reaction to seeing him for the first time after being away from home for a few months, because that was the longest I had ever gone without seeing him. But that was just cute. It reminded me of that. And I was like, of course the weight of everything is hitting you at one time. It was just really sweet.
That is a good moment. Yeah, later when Mira goes with Rhee and Violet to go see like Rhee's family, which also is just a cute moment. Just shout out to Rhiannon and her family and getting to see her nephew and that whole little side scene that we don't get enough of. Mira and Violet are talking and she asks her like, what rules have you broken? What have you been up to? Like that kind of a thing. And says she sips her wine and cuts a look my way. A smirk tugs at my mouth as I lift one shoulder and says, maybe a few here or there. I've gotten very good at poisoning my opponents before challenges. And it says Mira nearly spits out her wine, slamming her hand over her mouth. So at first that made me laugh because it's just a funny, cute, whatever moment. But I do honestly feel bad for Violet. It's so many times that it's thrown in her face that people don't just believe in her, including this moment. She's like, you would do such a thing? Like, and it took her that so much shock that something would happen. And even whenever she gets her saddle later and Taryn has to like reassure her and things, and Carr is a whole big jerk to her later about her body and just being down and stuff. And of course Dane every other second of her life. So I don't know. I just feel bad for Violet in those moments, and she handles it so well, but I don't know. I just love her.
We know how cool she is.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
And she does, too.
Yes.
She doesn't have a lot of self-pity going on.
That's true.
That's true. I appreciate that about her. Mm-hmm. And this is shortly after Mira tells her that she still has the book of fables and tells Violet she'll like give it back to her back at the outpost. And this for me was kind of like a Liam situation, like seems too good to be true. The book that we've all been anticipating you give back to her, like will you give it back to her at the outpost? And I was slightly right, because we don't find out that Mira sneaks it into her bag until some chapters later or whatever, when they have it in her room or whatever. But yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, anytime somebody starts making plans in a fantasy novel, it always makes me nervous.
Especially this one.
Like when relatives are involved. It's like loved relative is promising something to the other one in whatever possible way it could mean. You're like,
If it's like I could do it now, but we have time sort of thing.
And this one where we like know of her, but like us as a reader aren't super connected to Mira right now. Like we've only seen her twice. So it's just like, that would be convenient hardship on the main character, but not necessarily the reader kind of a character type of a thing. Yeah, for sure. Well, they're leaving Rhiannon's house, and Mira's asking how long the dragons can be separated. And then it says, turns out about 3 days is their max, as Xaden steps out of the shadows. And of course, they just highlighted it. My whole note just goes, ah, Xaden! He's here!
My note said,
It's like those old shows where like a guest star shows up and the crowd goes wild. They have to go like before they say their next line. Film before live TV audience.
That was me and Lauren reading this part.
Yeah.
Well, and then I am like a little annoyed though that it fades to black, I guess, here, because like it's the end of the chapter, and then you just get to the next part where they're back at the base or whatever.
Yeah.
But I would love to see like Mira's initial reaction to that, or the awkward tension of the dragon ride back, or like everyone's reaction to Xaden being there, because instead he's just kind of there.
Yeah.
And that's just like those little extra stuff that I would have loved to see.
I get that it would be hard to hide his dragon, perhaps. But otherwise, he could have very easily not let anyone else know he was there. So part of me is kind of like, he either...
Where would he have slept?
With her, obviously.
She's in a room with Rhee. They're sharing a room.
I don't think she'd tell. I think they're pretty well bonded. She'd be like, yep, I'll step out,
He's just like standing in a corner, like doused in shadow the whole night. He's just like
awkwardly hanging out. Well, even in this moment where it says that he steps out of the shadows, so it's like, how long was he there? Was he listening to their conversation, just hiding in the shadows?
The entire time.
Yep.
Probably.
Maybe he just followed them the whole way and was never actually separated at all.
He totally did.
Maybe.
All right, chapter 27. I would like to point out this excerpt at the beginning. It says, I recommend Mira Sorengale receive the Star of Navarre, but if the criterion is not met, which I assure you it has been, downgrading to the Order of the Talon would be a shame, but sufficient. This is addressed to General Sorengale. And when we first meet Mira in chapter 1, someone who recognizes her is like, oh, you fought at Strathmore where you received the Order of the Talon. So she definitely got the Order of the Talon.
Realized that. That's
and her mom was the one who decided that. Yeah.
I'm telling you, she's not good.
Mom!
News.
I
This
know.
mom.
Wow, I did not realize
So
that as
rude.
either.
I think this is the first time I've put that together.
Yeah, I've never.
Wow.
And I was like mad at you for not telling me that before right now. Because we've talked about these books so much. I was like, what the heck?
Well, the only reason I noticed was because of the pronunciation guide, because the first time Strathmore comes up was in that, and I put it in the pronunciation guide. Like, this is where Mira got the Order of the Talon. Because it was part of like the world building and stuff. But
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay,
go
Mama.
podcast, I guess.
I don't like this mother. I don't
They all got
trust her.
mommy issues.
Yeah. The mom is the issue.
Maybe she doesn't even know that her mom did that.
Zayden doesn't. Sorry.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, something's got to be up with mom, though, for real.
Sorengale's mom? I'm confused at whose mom we're talking about.
The one that's alive, the living mother.
Well, technically, we don't know about Zayden's mom, right?
Oh, I guess that's true.
I don't think we know anything about her.
Oh, I thought she was dead.
We
I
know
thought
that
they said
Fenn-
We know
all-
that Fenn
I
was.
thought
We
all
know Fenn was
parents were.
executed.
Yeah. This family's
All
got
right.
a lot of secrets, is all I'm saying. And I'm pretty
True.
sure the mom's trying to hide all of them.
Well, and the fact that she's like the general of the literal entire army. So
Yeah.
that's great. It's promising for the country.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
Just what we
Anyway.
need.
Another general. Ugh. Well, I liked the scene sort of following with Mira trying to question the cadets on what they would do in response to her hypothetical war strategy situations, but all of them were like so literal they couldn't get through the concept without a proper backstory. Like, she's like, let's say this fort is here today, and I think one of them was like, what, like it just popped up overnight? And she was like, for the sake of argument, there is a fort here. And they were like, well, it'd have to be wood because it couldn't be stone if it was just overnight. And she was like, oh my god. It was a good scene.
I love this chapter.
Yeah, this chapter, this scene specifically, I think is one of my favorites from the entire series. I just love Zayden being there, and he starts talking to her in her mind, and that whole interaction and the banter. He scratches his relic, even though it's probably not itchy, just to kind of like tick people off, and he puts his arm around her, and like just all the little things that happen. But specifically, I love Mira leading this whole little group, and she literally throws around these little wooden dragon models, and they have the whole little fake map. She literally leads them in a game of Dungeons and Dragons, having them role play this whole situation, and like they move their little pieces and they take their little turns, and she's just kind of in charge and kind of like guides the whole thing. And they basically play Dungeons and Dragons, but like with their actual dragons. It's amazing, and I love it.
I will say I didn't think of it that way when I read it, but now that you mention it, them taking everything so literally, as a DM, I definitely feel her pain. Where like I'm just trying to paint the scene and I'm like, yeah, there's a shopkeeper. They're like, what's his name? I'm like, ugh, who cares?
What's he sell?
Like go to the exact place that I didn't prepare anything for.
It's amazing. I just think it's so
That's
funny.
awesome.
But speaking of talking to her in her head, Italics conversation is here.
Get back, baby.
I know. I really think this series is why I was so invested in the Italics conversations in Throne of Glass, because obviously we've even seen just in this little bit that it's shown up in this chapter section how much it happens between Zayden and Violet, and then obviously also the dragons themselves. And so with the tiny bits that it was happening in Throne of Glass, and I was trying to read into every tiny thing, and I was like, I know that they're talking in their heads because I've seen it before, and it's in this series that I saw it.
Yeah. It's like integral to this story.
I know. So I think that's why I was so fired up before. But I am excited it's here, and I like that it's a secret from people. So I don't know. I love it.
One of the other moments I really liked in this meeting was she sort of asks the third years how often they've been called out to the field, or if they have been before, and Xaden and I think one other raises their hand, and Dane just says, "No, that's not right. We're never called out." He presses his lips in a tight line and nods, giving Dane a sarcastic thumbs up. And I was just picturing that classic computer kid gif of... That was a new side of Xaden that I saw, and I liked it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I pictured. I highlighted it too, and I was like, the sarcastic thumbs up is everything. Then it says in Violet's POV that Xaden winks and turns back to the table, and she says, "He fucking winked." And I was like, this happened to me once. Now I'm a mom.
Don't do it again, John.
It's a slippery slope.
It's dangerous.
Yes, it's a slippery slope.
It is. I think we talk about that in our first bonus Q&A when we just were answering questions about ourselves. So if you haven't heard that, we were talking about how when John and I first met, before we had ever really had a conversation, John winked at me in the middle of a sound check for the a cappella group that we were in. And now I'm the mother of his children.
Seal the deal.
Yeah.
Stay blessed.
Okay, so still in the same conversation, the same meeting, Dane is just being annoying and Dane, and he starts arguing 3 days, you couldn't make it 3 days without being apart. And then Violet tries to defend Xaden, being it has nothing to do with him, it's the dragons, whatever. And then Xaden says in her mind, "You never considered that it was you I couldn't stay away from?" I'm going to pass out. Yes. Stop it, Xaden. Oh my God. But it's this stuff where he's so back and forth, where it's he's giving all the sassy whatever energy, and then they completely flip-flop that. Obviously, we see them together kind of ish at the end. But this whole don't fall for me, blah, 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 back and forth stuff. I have feelings.
Yeah,
we'll
it's
there.
he wants to flirt until he's like, "Oh, wait, you have feelings for me now? Oop, never mind, sorry."
It's called commitment issues.
Well, last episode, or maybe the one before, one of these past episodes, I was talking about their signets and trying to figure out what their signets were. And Violet kind of has a moment like that, where she's talking about how Sigale says that it reflects who you are at the core of your being. And it makes sense because Mira is protective and she has her wards. Dane has to know everything. We were just talking about that. And then Xaden, ... has secrets. And it's these secrets that Xaden has that we still don't really know. Freaking Xaden. I love you so much. But
why doesn't Dane just cup Xaden's face? It would...
That would be a scene. Fanfic.
I ship it.
It's got to exist somewhere.
My Xaden ship.
Oh.
Daden.
Daden.
Daden. Look at Minnie in the background right now.
There's Gritchies
You got an itchy chin.
cleaning her toes.
Gosh. Well, then this is when Mira pulls Dane and Xaden and Violet out of the room, and she throws up a sound shield, and Dane goes, "Sound shield, nice," and Mira goes, "Shut up." She turns around.
Well, and Xaden keeps it going with when Mira says, "Is that what she can expect next year?" And Xaden says, "Atos being an asshole? Probably." And I was like, yeah, because he's always one of those.
Yeah. She also, I think, tells Dane to shut up right when she arrives too. Whenever he's commenting on that's the Soaring Girls for you, and she's like, "Shut up, Dane." And I was like, yeah. I'm glad someone does this too.
I love that.
Put a sound shield over his mouth.
There it
If
is.
only. Oh, help us out. Mira is going off trying to tell Violet how awful Xaden is for her and all the things. And I just really liked this moment from Xaden where he says, "I am here." Taryn didn't drag her back to Basgiath. He didn't break through her shields or pour through his emotions into her. He didn't demand she fly across the whole kingdom. Your sister is still right here. I'm the one who left my post, my position, and my executive officer in charge of my wing, and she's not missing out on shit. And I just, first of all, love this moment for Violet. Second of all, she is going to be the most powerful person or whatever in their generation, and Xaden can just sit there on the side and look pretty. That's what's going to happen.
He is good at that.
Yes, he is.
near the end of this, I highlighted it because it said the kiss is reckless and consuming, and I give it my all, knowing it might be the last one. And I just wrote, she gave it her all.
Yes.
I'm so mad that I did not see this. Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
This is a callback to like Crown of Midnight when we were covering Throne of Glass.
Oh.
But no, I think Xaden says he gives his all to something later in this chapter thing, and I just couldn't find it again when I was doing my notes, but he says it as well. I was like, dang it,
Nice.
I lost it.
Well, while she is giving it all, and they're having this moment, and she's trying to stay to protect Mira, and he just says, "Leave for me, Violet." It's one of my favorite lines because she leaves for him.
This reminded me of the graphic that we posted before the Iron Flame release party.
Oh yeah, Connor and I were traveling 5 or 6 hours to meet each other each, and it said, what did it say? Leave for me, Con. Leave for me, Lauren.
Leave for me, Con and Lauren. It was from the Iron Flame release party, and it was a map, and it had a little, like Con emoji on one side and a Lauren emoji on the other. And I think I was flying on Tarn, and you were flying on Andarna or something.
Yeah.
From wherever we were on the map. Yeah, and then I had the little Novel Neighbor logo in the middle because that's a bookstore we went to.
That was fun.
Now that's what this line makes me think of.
Good times.
All right, chapter 28. My first note here is actually on the pre-chap blurb of 28.
Pre-chap.
A page from the book of Brennan. Eventually, those closest to us become our enemies in some way, even though it's well-intentioned love or apathy, or if we live long enough to become their villains. I really hope this doesn't happen to, Vi and Ree, or really any of them, within their squad, like Liam and Riddick and Sawyer and all those guys. But I could see this happening with her and Dane, especially once Vi learns the truth behind the rebellion and ends up pretty much leading a rebellion version 2 with Xaden. So, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, hot take.
Kyle's like, yep.
Solid option.
All right.
Also,
are you saying Dane wouldn't be part of Rebellion Part 2?
Come on.
Absolutely not.
Come on, Lauren.
Sorry. Just trying to understand the whole theory.
No, he'd be fully against it. He'd be like the main person against them. I feel like if anyone was going to be.
I would agree. He'd be like the poster boy for
right. Yeah, that's what I was
generals
thinking.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like if anyone is going to turn into her enemy, it's Dane.
For sure.
Wow.
Friends to almost lovers to enemies, then, I guess.
Oh, yeah. That's a trope.
Friends to
Guess what comes after enemies? Lovers again.
Oh, no.
Full circle. And then they're waiting outside Markham's office. This is when they're waiting on news about the outpost after it's been attacked. And Xaden mentions he hasn't slept well since his father's death. And we find out that he's currently 23. And I just had to bring this up because I'm like, okay, so are they 20 on conscription day? Is that right?
Yes.
I was just curious because 18 is the legal age, so it's I didn't think it was that
In
though
our
because they
world.
seemed a little bit. That's what I mean. Some stuff lines up here.
You're not alone. I think came out during or after one of my reading sessions to
out.
Lauren, and I was like,
I love Xaden.
I was like, first of all, Lauren, I have something big to tell you, and then second of all, how old are these characters? But no, I did come out. And I was like, how old are they? And then she said that, and I was like, oh, okay, so college age-ish. So it still makes sense. I mean. Yeah. It is weird having this weird juxtaposition of them being at a college, and it feels sometimes very college-y, but then also be like, oh yeah, it's war. It's not just a fraternity sorority sort of situation. It's just called a college, not how we would consider it, where there's parties with kings showing up or whatever.
But that happens this episode, or this chapter.
Yeah. But that didn't happen at our college. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Remember how there was no kings ever? And I was like, that's kind of weird.
But yes, back to this topic. It was mentioned twice in chapter 1, but I don't know if they've explicitly said it since.
Yeah.
But it was described that thousands of 20-year-olds were waiting to take their turn on the parapet, and I think Mira said, "You're 20 years old at some point. You're 20 and it's conscription day or something like that."
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
So in your defense, it was literally chapter 1, and so much was happening. So that's
you got a lot of info.
small fact to forget.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
This convo continues with them, and he mentions that he knows her birthday, and he comments, I made it my business to know everything there was to know about you the second I saw you on the parapet. And I just had to write, just a little one of those.
I love how happy you are about it.
I know. This made me laugh when I saw your note typed in here, because in the Kindle app, my next note literally was typed almost the exact same way. But it was for the line, or when I realized I'm fucked because I can't stop thinking about doing more than just kissing you. And I typed, ooh.
The same ooh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but with this, where she's like, but when did things change, whatever, and they're having this conversation, he goes, does it even matter when, as long as it's changed between us? They're the best.
The answer's no.
No, it doesn't matter.
Once she does find out that Mira is okay, and she's like feeling so relieved, and she like runs to the flight field, and Darna meets her to console her. Literally so sweet. This did almost get me. It almost got me.
Aww.
This is very sweet how it was written. It was very cool.
That almost got me too. It was so sweet.
Well, no surprise, it did get me, and I did cry. So cry counter number 1 for me.
Nice.
It was just
Ding.
neat, and like the way she like leaned her head on Andarna and stuff, and just got comfort from Andarna, not Taryn or anything. I just thought it was so cute.
Yeah, and she said, didn't she say something before she went out? Like, there's only one place that I feel like I can let these emotions out, or one place that she felt safe, and it was with her. I love that.
Yeah,
The relationship
that
is so
very
sweet.
cute.
Well, Violet tries to get to know Xaden a little bit better and asks him a bunch of random weird questions at random weird times. And one of them was, what is his favorite food? And personally, I love cake. I think cake is the best. And I ask Kyle to make me cake all the time. Probably have talked about that on the podcast. He won't make me a whole cake. He often just tells me no. It's really annoying. Kyle, make me some cake. But the fact here is that Xaden also likes cake. Chocolate cake is his favorite, and it makes me like him even more. And he and I can just go hang out and eat some cake.
Yeah,
That's not an innuendo.
I'm going to defend myself here. Lauren will ask for a cake. Her favorite's not chocolate cake, but she'll ask for cake. And she'll eat like a slice, and then I'm left with the rest of the cake. And it goes untouched.
I'll eat like a big slice.
She doesn't have like a big sweet tooth. It's like an occasional sweet tooth. So once it's sated, it's like gone for sometimes months. Yeah. So the person who eats the rest of the cake is me. So I don't make a cake for my own health, really.
We say as there's a batch of brownies just sitting on the
Who
counter.
asked for the brownies? Who asked for those brownies?
And I had the brownies. They were warm, and I had a dollop of ice cream on top. Delicious. And now I'm happy.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of those brownies, Kyle.
I wish I was like that, because I'm over here
Same.
eating a bag of peach rings in
Yeah.
one sitting.
I'll go through every sweet thing in the house before like I'm done
I'm
eating.
a salty snacker, and I usually have like a family-sized bag of chips that I'm slowly going through at any given time. And I won't eat it all at once.
Define
but
slowly.
It's like at school, that's all I have for lunch. I have just my family-sized bag of chips, and I'll just eat a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it usually lasts me a week of me just like slowly snacking throughout the day.
Where she'll be like, can you bring me my chips? And I'll be like, do you want the bag you have in your TV side table, your bedside table, the dinner table? You've got like 4 open bags of all the same flavor.
I
It's
see
not
two-
even like-
I see 3 from this vantage point. My bad. And then he's always like, where's the chip clips? It's because they're on all
like
my
the
chips
one that I
throughout
need.
the house. My bad.
But I'm the exact opposite. Very sweet tooth, and I will buy new chips for myself and then eat like a quarter of them, and then they go bad because I'm not a
Yeah,
salty
and then they just
snacker.
sit there.
Yep.
So
Anyways, the point of this is I want cake, and I can eat some with Xaden. So there we go.
They are about to mount up for the war games.
They're about to do what?
They're about to mount up for the war games,
Hey-o.
and Taryn is wearing a saddle. And
Yay.
Xaden says, if you don't use it, I'll take personal offense, considering I had it made for you and just about got myself burned alive in the process, trying to get it on him, even though he helped design it, I might add. And I was just like, yes, this is so freaking sweet. Because I had mentioned earlier about her, like, I would think that somebody would have come up with some kind of leather strap or something for her to hang on to. And here he is, my man, bringing the ideas to life,
Making it happen.
making it happen. Well,
What a man, am I right?
I love when Taryn says, I hear it's all the fashion.
To like reinforce Kyle's Taryn is a dad comment.
yeah.
This is such a
100%.
dad comment.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hear he like gets something new and from his like kids.
Yep.
It does make me think, because they mentioned earlier when Mira was talking to, forgot the main character's name, Vi. She's talking to her about her.
You know,
her
that
armor.
one girl, she's
Yeah.
short, her hair's half silver.
Silver hair, yeah.
She was talking to her about her scale armor and like asking how it worked.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's like, it's working great. And she's like, have you ever like said we need more of it in the army? She's like, oh yeah, I ran it up to leadership or whatever. It's like, I thought, wouldn't these saddles be something that would be nice for all dragons to have? Like, I get, you want the strongest and the best, but I mean, wouldn't you also just want a bigger army? Like, if more people survived, it seems like a pretty easy fix.
Well, I think a big part of it is that the dragons, like most of them, would not be willing to modify or comply, comply or whatever.
Stop being little bitches about it.
You should tell that to the dragons.
If Taryn's gonna do it, I mean.
I did see a TikTok, though, about somebody who was going off about how the parapet specifically is a ridiculous concept when you're going to, like, train for college. Like, it makes sense that maybe someone dies doing hand-to-hand combat or even the gauntlet. Like, things that are actually, like, the purpose for this is to be able to mount a dragon. But, like, literally, because you wore the wrong shoes that day or it started to rain, and so now you're not fit to ride a dragon. It's just like
Or Jack Barlow throws you off.
Yes, those kinds of things.
It used to be a nice bridge that broke down, and then like any college, they were like, well, instead of fixing it, let's just make it like a central part of our college.
We'll make the freshmen go on it.
Yeah. Freshmen, who cares if they die?
I thought they said at one point that it was supposed to be similar to like walking along the back of your dragon in flight or something. But again, they've had no training up to that point.
Right.
Yeah.
You've never seen a dragon before. Walk on one's back before you come to college.
Right. Well, and like Violet even says in this chapter section, like as she's coming back off the parapet, I'm so much better at this now than I was last July.
Yeah. It's a well-known thing, right? Like everybody knows, oh, you got to walk the parapet when you go to whatever. Does no one like just practice on a janky balance beam or something?
I'm sure they do.
I feel like
They've got to, right?
they've got to. They got to have
Well,
a warrior
was
thing
it
on their back
who was it? Orly? Yeah, Orly had the whole like setup. Her dad made the whole
the
gauntlet
gauntlet,
setup,
right.
so I'm sure they
Yeah.
probably practiced for the parapet.
Yeah.
And she still died on that, so maybe that's how it is for the parapet practitioners.
It also maybe I'm just picturing it differently, but it seems really easy. It just seems really easy to keep your balance and walk across a parapet. I don't know if I'm picturing it wrong, but like walking on balance beams, walking on the little curb stop parking lot things, I did that all the time as a kid. It's not that hard. One foot in front of the other. Keep your balance.
But like 200 or 250 feet up.
It doesn't
in the
matter how
wind.
high up
And
you
it's
are.
storming, and it's it's like
It's also like
the
cracked
material's
a little bit
different.
in places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
I
stony.
mean- Yeah, you're describing all parking lot curbs. Storming, cracked a little bit, not well maintained.
Well, I'm glad you would be a rider. I'd probably die on the parapet, so.
Yeah,
Kyle's been training for it his whole life.
Little did I know.
in parking lots.
I'd probably die after that, but the parapet, easy.
Easy, no problem.
You would have to be like, I have to talk to these people. I'm out. Kill me.
Yeah.
now.
And as soon as someone started talking in my brain, I'd be like,
No,
no,
done.
no.
You're
no.
never
no, no.
leaving.
Where's the parapet? Take me back over there. All right. I just had to highlight this little line where now that Violet has the saddle, we know now that she was about to like manifest her signet. But in her POV, it says, my power is just feeling free because I'm finally not so focused on falling out of my seat. And I was like, this makes so much sense. Because this whole time I was like, of course, she's taking her the longest to manifest her signet out of everybody. She's getting nervous. And on this reread, I keep thinking like, why is that? Like, why is it taking so long if Taryn is super powerful and she's got 2 dragons and all this stuff? But then this little line just kind of made sense to me that she's been so focused on just keeping her seat while she's on Taryn or people trying to kill her or whatever else. Now,
Well, even
if she's
off Taryn, she's weight training so that she
Yeah.
can stay on, doing all the things
Right.
so she can stay on. Like it has all that focus.
yeah,
So, that
all the
makes
time.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like that little line.
Yeah. wonder if her training will change now that she has a saddle. I didn't think she mentioned that, but with like her leg day stuff she does or whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's there.
True.
She was working out.
Not her legs though; those were being held up the whole time. Anyway, a little bit after this scene here, Dane shows up. Love him. As Xaden and Vi are talking, after being able to speak in each other's minds, she's just broken through that ability to be able to talk back. And Xaden, as Dane shows up, says in her head, "Bet it would be even more awkward if I kissed you now, huh?" And Vi thinks to herself, "Yes, please." But thinks to him, "The next time we kiss better not be just to piss off Dane." And I just wrote, first of all, the "yes, please" got me. That she had that like visceral reaction before responding to him. But also the insinuation that the kiss can piss off Dane, and that's fine. It just can't be the only reason for the kiss.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This line really just kind of confused me, and I sat there and really tried to think about it for a little bit, and so I'd love your opinions on this one. They are in the war games. She is flying with Terran, and it says, "I hunker down on Terran's neck, giving him less wind resistance to fight as we climb faster than ever before." And I'm like, on his giant body, her little tiny, smaller than everyone else's body is giving that much wind resistance that she feels the need to hunker down to like help speed him up. Like, is that really going to make that big of a difference?
Yes.
Just made me laugh. I mean, it might make a little difference, I guess.
I think of it in the sense of maybe not forward air resistance, but if you think of the fact of the little tail rudder on a huge plane that controls where it's going, if she's the one scale that he can't control to keep his perfect aerodynamics, then maybe it does make a difference to him.
I love you so much in that I'm just laughing at this silly like picture in my head, and you're like, the aerodynamics, the wind resistance, and if you look at it mathematically.
He's right.
Yeah, I didn't think about it until you brought it up. If you're going to bring it up, we're going to talk about it. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And of course, we go through them finding the place where they're guarding the egg. They fight off some dragons. They see Liam and Jack fighting. Jack stabs him, kicks him off the dragon, and they're dropping down. Violet thinks of like Andarna, and Andarna, I think, speaks in her mind. And she's like, "Yes, like do it. I'm ready. Let's go." And it says, "Suddenly we're the only ones moving, plunging through a windless sky towards Liam's frozen body, mere feet from the rugged outcropping of rocks below." Just this description, I was literally like, I thought the first freeze time was cool, and then it goes on once they grab him up in midair. Time snaps back, wind blasting me in the face as we climb, turning tightly to avoid colliding with the ridgeline. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, even the wind and air was frozen in time? Like, this power is insane, dude. This is so crazy.
Well, and I feel like a lot of times you see like somebody who has like super speed or something, and everything is like still slowly moving around.
Yes.
But this
I
is
know.
like complete frozen.
Yes.
Which is just really cool.
Just the fact
So
that,
cool.
because I'm pretty sure she uses some descriptors in there about like the wind whipping her face, and maybe she did that on purpose to like really bring attention to it. And then here it was like the wind stopped, and I'm just like they're still moving at whatever breakneck speed that they are, but she's not getting like any wind or air. Like, it's just insane to me. I don't know.
I bet this
can't
is
wrap
really
my head
cool
around it.
in the graphic audiobook. If they
Yeah.
have like the wind and all the
Ooh, yeah.
things, and then it just
Yeah.
like cuts out to nothing.
Stops. Yep.
Yeah.
I will say, if we're talking about it, and I already nerded out a little bit about the aerodynamics, it bothers me because the wind and air stay still. True, time has stopped. But if you're moving through the space that the air is, then you should
still feel
some
something.
air resistance. And in fact, the pocket of nothing that you're leaving, that the air, there is literal nothing, a void where the dragon was as they go down. As soon as time starts again, it should collapse and cause an explosion. But that's just me. So, out of like a
In
little.
our world, maybe their science works different.
Oh, right.
Magic.
No, honestly, that is the answer to me. Is like it is just magic. Like it could be like time stops, but it's not
Oh,
the literal
right.
time stop because there's different ways to
Yeah.
stop time. But we don't have to get into all that.
And he would know this because he's writing a book about time.
Am I? I forgot about that one.
He writes a book.
That
he writes
one.
a lot of books.
Are there multiple?
Yeah.
I have multiple stories
Yes.
I jump between. I can't. I'm too ADD to stay on one.
And
for
one's
too long.
about time.
The
It
movie?
is about time, if you tell me.
It is. And if I'm not at the beginning of every single one of those books, that's like, thanks to my wife for listening to me
I
talk
thought you
about
just
this for
meant as a
hours and
character.
hours and hours and hours.
I thought you just wanted to be at the beginning of each book. Like, and Lauren was there.
Moves on. I'm like the Stan Lee of your
Oh my God.
of your books. I'm just always in everyone for no reason. Anyways.
Oh, all right. So all the time freeze happens. They grab Liam, they like pass him off, and they're headed back to the tower where Jack is like pretty much celebrating, and she's feeling the power surge as they're like heading toward him. She like reaches out her hands, and it says, "A scream rips from my throat just as lightning splits the sky with the terrifying crack of thunder. The bluish streak of silver death slams into the tower," and I was just like, F yeah, dude. I was so hyped. At this point, I was so freaking hyped. It's just so incredible. Such an incredible moment.
So good.
I think it was a note from my first read when Lauren and I had like this buddy read on StoryGraph. In my note at this part, I put, I feel like I could run a freaking marathon right now. I was like so excited.
Yep.
Don't
Did
hold
you?
me to that because I don't want to
Okay.
run a marathon. No, absolutely not. You will not catch me running. I'll do leg day, but I won't run. But the next line is on my shirt right now where Violet says, "I am the sky and the power of every storm that has ever been. I am infinite." This gives me chills every freaking time I read this book. This is like the 5th time I've read it. It's so good.
And of course, to end the chapter, it's proud Tarn just in her head being like, "Lightning wielder." I was like, yes, dude. Like giving her that title of her signet was just pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Super cool.
And after this lightning strikes, it says Jack falls down the mountainside in an avalanche of rock that I know he can't survive. And mine it was,
Woo!
"You know he can't? Show me the body."
Oh no.
Show me the body. Because,
Kyle.
but then the line after that was like, "Oh,
Just
from the
accept
way,
the win.
from the way Babe cries beneath us, she knows it too." And I was like, okay, I don't know. Show me the body. Like, I'm a little more convinced now, but I still want to. I just feel like they were like, "Yep, Jack's dead," and no one like talks about it. Which, granted, no one freaking cares about if anyone dies.
'Cause he
in the
sucks.
But I feel like he was built up to be like such a major like player in this story, which, granted, other people also have and then died. But so close to the end, I was like, surely this is not like the guy. Either he's not fully dead, or there's gonna be some like other reveal of someone who's worse than him, basically.
He's only mostly dead.
Yeah. Mostly.
I mean, when everybody else dies, you haven't questioned that.
yeah. Well,
like-
Amber was literally incinerated, so there's no.
Yeah,
body
but like
to see
Aura
there.
Lee, you basically the same thing. She gets crushed by boulders or whatever and falls down the
Well,
gauntlet.
no, she fell, and she
you
said that
accept
she
that.
saw her body go like, and like, oh, she's dead.
The sound effect. Oh, she's dead. I feel like most of them were like parapet.
Yeah, a lot of them were on the parapet or like too early on, or like somebody gets his neck literally 360 and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, he's dead.
Oh.
But
Yeah, I
if
don't
someone
like
falls
that.
down and they're like, oh, he's in an avalanche of rock that I know he can't survive, I'm like, I don't know. You didn't actually see anything happen except for him be under the rock. There's a possibility he could survive.
If it's
But the dragon
technically off
cried.
page.
Yeah, it's
right.
technically
Yeah,
off
I was gonna
page.
say Amber was incinerated or whatever, and
Yeah.
we saw her dragon
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
like
in
bellow
mourning.
out and like have a whole moment, and that's what Beta's doing right now.
Yep, and that's why I
Yeah.
said like a little more convinced because of that. But I still, for such a major character that was an antagonist to our protagonist,
Yeah.
pretty much, I would like to have more evidence of the death.
More closure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
That's
you haven't
fair.
finished the book, so maybe you do.
Oh.
Here's something to think about. Was the dragon screaming out because he had died or just because he was falling?
I'll never let go, Jack.
Yeah.
So I'm like supporting your theory here, Kyle.
No, I get it. Because, like, I know that the dragons have a bond, so I feel like they would intrinsically know. I keep wanting to say intrinsically, but that's not a real word. Intrinsically know if their rider has died. And that to me would think like, I would think if a dragon knows their rider is not dead, wouldn't cry. So the fact that it's crying is a little odd, but yeah, maybe it's just worried about it. But also from
Maybe
what
it's
I've
just a
heard
crier.
of, yeah, well, what
wrong with
I've
crying?
heard of Jack's dragon type, I believe it was like an orange, whatever. Those seem like the meanies, so they don't also seem like the type to care.
They're just kind of cray-cray.
Yeah, the orange are unpredictable.
Well, unpredictable could be a crybaby, so who knows?
Wow.
Anyway.
I'm wearing orange. It's my favorite color.
My boy!
Well, to be fair, you also cry the most, so that's also good.
I will drink my orange drink out of my orange cup, wearing my orange headphones and my orange shirt and my orange chair, and be offended.
And I'll cry about it.
Yeah, maybe the dragon was just like, that was my favorite tower!
The tower. We lost the war game. I really wanted to win.
I was going to perch on that later.
Chapter 29. I just love that her dragons are her safe space. This part where it says, my stomach heaves and a dark shadow envelops me, but it's not Xaden. Taryn has folded his wings over us, closing out the world while I retch up everything I've eaten today. And then Taryn says, you did what was necessary. He's like comforting her and shielding her and just giving her space to have her little moment and like get it out. And he's being really reassuring. And I love that after this moment with Andarna earlier, and then Andarna's here now too, but both of them are just her safe space.
Yes, it's when Andarna says, I'm proud you're mine. Andarna's voice wavers, the blinks of her eyes becoming slower, even if I need a bath. And I just wrote, my heart. And I had a little yellow heart, or a golden heart
Oh,
for Andarna. It was so sweet.
Well, not to bring everyone down, but Dane shows up, says, I know. And if you don't want to use that kind of power again, you don't have to. And he sort of trails off. Right? He gets interrupted, actually. I was talking with Lauren, and I feel like he's just going to follow it up with, if you go to the scribes. I know it's late in the year, but just get out of here. I was like, Dane, stop pushing this man.
yeah. Dean, stop.
And then, yes, toward the end of this conversation with Xaden, he says, lightning. Your signet is lightning, isn't it? I thought so, but I wasn't sure until I saw you take that tower down. Internally, she said, he thought so. What the hell does that mean? And I wrote, yes, I would also like to know, even though we do kind of find out later, like the moment where he suspected. But right here, I was just like, wait a minute, where would he have even had any inclination as to what her power was? I was like racking my brain right here trying to think of it. But we do learn that later. So.
Yeah. His whole speech, I just wrote, like the whole expectations of being in a war, what Xaden goes over with her to sort of level her out. The whole thing was good. And Terrence as well, that he follows up with. Just everything about
Kyle.
it. I was talking to Lauren about it. She's like, yeah, I figured you'd like what Xaden said there.
That would be exactly what Kyle says. It's just like, no sugarcoat, cut and dry. Here it is. Did I hurt your feelings? Sucks to be you. That's the facts.
That's
That's
showbiz.
Kyle.
It was so good.
Show goes on. Get out there, kid.
But he ends it all with, you are not just a weapon, Sorengale. You are the weapon. You train this ability, own it, and you'll have the power to defend an entire kingdom.
Ooh.
Epic. Amazing.
I would ask if we ever met Rebecca, I would ask if this was intentional. If she had him say defend an entire kingdom. Because I feel like for her, instead of like take over something with an offensive, aggressive, like more language
Yeah.
than like
Conquering.
defend an entire kingdom. I think he's like playing to what she would rather do than just like
Right.
kill a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Essentially. So
That's
Yeah.
true. Mm-hmm. I like that.
I also wrote Rhiannon's. Is it Rhiannon or Rhiannon? I can't remember.
Rhiannon.
Rihanna.
Technically,
Neither.
but I say
Cool,
Rhiannon
cool.
a lot.
I say Rhiannon. Oops. Rhiannon, like Rihanna,
Yeah.
but Rhiannon. Got it.
Yeah. She says, "You're most definitely in a relationship. I just can't figure out if it's the opposites attract partnership that has you two bearing claws or the slow, lethal burn of scalding sexual tension." And I just wrote, that's kind of weird that an author's note made it into the book. I was like, sort of sounds like Rebecca trying to figure out where she wants to go with this.
Now I want to say that to people in real life. Like, you're definitely in a relationship, but I haven't figured out what your trope is yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
That'd be a great, if I ever went into like couples counseling, that's what I would do. Is like, let's find your trope and then we'll work from there.
Right now, this is a classic miscommunication, third act breakup.
Miscommunication. Get out of my office.
It's like when counselors list on the website like the types of counseling they specialize in, but it's just tropes.
Miscommunication, third act breakup. That'd be good.
All right. So after all this stuff happens and Violet and Rhea are talking, Violet says that Taryn is just really fast because Rhiannon's like wanting to know how she saved Liam. She's like, Taryn is just really fast. I don't know. And Rhea says, and thank gods for it. Zanal must really love Liam, cheating death twice today. But it wasn't Liam who cheated death. It was me. And I can't help but wonder if somewhere on some plane of existence, Malik sits on his throne, angry that I stole a soul from his grasp. So this is my God's watch for today. Super interesting thought. And
Malik
we
has a throne.
haven't really... Malik has a throne.
That's what we learned.
On some plane of existence. But we don't get a lot of like information about the gods. And the fact that Taryn is like, you're puny gods. Like, do they even exist? I don't know. But this was just an interesting thought.
And yeah. Continue.
Yes.
Good point, Lauren. Moving on.
Okay. I agree.
I can't talk openly anymore, and it's hard because I just have thoughts and
Oh,
feelings.
that's right.
And I have to not be me. I have to be not me.
And
Anyway.
she continues like this line of thought. Speaking of Malik, she says, "Then again, I gave him Jax. Of course, it might have broken mind forever." And that's how the section like ends there after the war games. And I just had to note that like this just whole war game section was so good in this chapter. It didn't end a chapter, but it ended that like section, the end of the war games. It was like truly epic. Signet reveal did not disappoint. It was great. Yeah, so good. So good.
Ugh. I'm so glad you love it so much.
I know. Well, and because you had previously said, too, in an episode about, like, if her signet just shows up and it's just kind of like, oh, there it is, I'll be pretty disappointed. So I'm glad you're, like, happy with how it all went down.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good.
Pretty good.
So later in this chapter, Xaden says to Violet, I have no clue how to train a lightning wielder, and from what I witnessed today, you don't need saving. And I wrote, what's that he said before? He has no interest in bedding helpless females? And now she doesn't need saving? Interesting.
Wow.
Go on.
Looks like he's writing his own future.
Well, with that train of thought, he does come to her room later that evening, and they're talking and stuff, and it says, keeping my eyes locked on his, I fling the dagger at the target, and the satisfying sound of split wood tells me I hit true. And he says, F, that's hotter than it should be. I don't know why that's cute in like a fictional fantasy world. I think if I was staring at someone and they were just throwing daggers, I'd be like, are you okay? But here, love that for them. Love that it's a turn on. I'm a fan. I approve.
Because she can defend herself.
Yes, she's just like extra hitting that point for him so that he's ready to hit her point later.
Oh.
Oh my god.
That was good. That was a good one.
Well, I wrote this note for Lauren, sort of, because I was getting so excited. But Violet says, so then why are you here, Xaden? And Xaden says, because I can't seem to stay away. And I wrote, shoulder shimmy.
There was so much shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
So many.
Lots of shoulders shimmy in here.
The last line of this chapter was, I surge up on my toes and kiss him. And I read that, and I came into the living room there, and I said, well, I'm taking a reading break at the end of chapter 29, and I cannot express to you how furious Lauren was that I took the reading break right here. She was like, why are you stopping there? And I was like, I don't know, I got 3 chapters left, so it seems like a good stopping point.
And I was like, you read that last line? and you just stopped? And he was like, yeah, they're kissing, like, whatever. And I was like, how could you just stop? Like, what?
In my head, I was like, okay, we just finished up a big battle scene. Next up is going to be 3 chapters of sort of like romance. So I'm separating those sections.
You didn't. You read the lead up and then you stopped.
It's not my fault she put it in chapter 29.
I, on the other hand, highlighted this line and typed, yes, get it, girl. But speaking of taking a break, let's set the mood for your next reading session. Your favorite book, a cozy spot, some snuggly blankets and pillows, and a candle that fits the vibe perfectly. That's what Mood Reader Candles is all about. They're made with pure soy and no harsh chemicals, just clean, bookish scents. These are our favorite candles that we have at home, and we cannot start a reading session without lighting one. So to grab your own, use our code FRIENDS10 at moodreadercandles.com for 10% off your next order. This code applies to all products except for bundles and already discounted items. Again, that's FRIENDS10 for 10% off Mood Reader Candles, the perfect excuse to upgrade your reading nook.
And we kick off chapter 30. I do have a couple other notes within this section, but really the only one that is needed is my first one here, and it is just hot sex. That's it.
Hot sex.
Yep.
like you're selling it.
The highlight that I had, I put under John's little sing-song note about hot sex. I found out today that my stepmom is reading along and listening to this podcast. So.
I think Kyle's mom's planning to do the same. So, hi,
Great.
moms.
Okay, so hi, Nancy. Hi,
And
Laura.
your dad, right? I'm pretty sure.
He was reading Throne of Glass, but he got behind because the audiobooks weren't available. So I don't know if he'll catch up with Fourth Wing or not, but we'll see. Anyway.
And so's my sister. Hi, Sarah. We're doing family shout outs.
In a sex scene.
Hi. Oh, yeah, rip.
Hi, Sarah.
All right, guys, sex scene, time for shout outs.
Hi, Mom.
We're looking at you.
Hi.
Say hi to you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was funny.
You know what we should do is do Patreon shout outs during the session.
Oh.
This sex scene is dedicated to.
Anyway, my note that I actually had here, he captures my wrists in one hand and holds them prisoner above my head, and I wrote, hot damn.
The gif from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. I guess.
I just have a lot of random one-liners highlighted from here because, you know, I didn't want to highlight all the details, but this one just says, Zayden Ryerson is mine. I was like, oh, yes, he is. I wish he was mine.
I do like, I think it was right after that line, too, that she was like, or maybe I'm his. Doesn't really matter right now. This is great. Sort of.
Yeah.
That was just
great.
the
That's
vibe.
true.
Having a great time.
Yeah.
Cool with it.
She also, pretty shortly after that, says, my hands fly back to brace my weight, knocking anything and everything out of my way, sending whatever careening to the floor. The clock stops ticking. And I read this and thought, if she didn't just use the time stop ability and Arna needed time to like recharge, I'd almost think she did it here accidentally. But I'm fairly sure after reading the rest, they just broke the clock.
I had the same note, like the same highlight at first, and I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
But I agree. I think it was just a broken clock.
But I was kind of vindicated later with the lightning. I was like, oh, okay, so, you know, but...
Yeah.
But when I read this in the book, I was just invested in the scene, but reading it here, like separated from anything else, it just is reminding me of like a rom-com parody where they're like about to have sex on a desk and they like stop and dramatically push every single thing off the desk, and then they go over to the bookshelf and pull everything down too before, you know, just like one of those moments. That's what this sounds like.
And then Zayden's jaw flexes.
Hey,
Cheers,
we got our
everybody.
first
Cheers.
To find that clock thing, by the way, I had to search because I didn't highlight. I was like, I'm going to search ticking because I know the clock stopped ticking. And I found every chapter before here. I was like, oh, wow, they do say tick a lot. But I didn't see any future ones.
Oh, okay. My next note is, he tastes like mint and Zayden. And I said, Candle Watch? Flavor Watch? What does Zayden taste like? Home, probably?
fruit jerky.
Well,
Yes.
I forget what Zayden smelled like.
Apple peels.
Oh my god.
Dried apples.
Oh, poor Zayden. He's never gonna live
Mint
that
and
down.
apple peels.
Mint and fruit, so he just sort of tastes like a mojito.
dried orange peels.
Hey.
Well, then it just says, for whatever reason, lightning strikes outside my window, ... And my note here just said, ka-chow!
Ciao.
Ka-chow.
Oddly enough, that's also what Violet said.
Ciao. Oh, man. At one point during their activities, Zayden says, tell me to stop. Vi says, don't stop. For some reason, I just noted, wow, disobeying a direct command from your wing leader. We'll see how that reflects on you. I would have loved for him to stand up just then and be like, I said, tell me to stop. It's a direct order.
And then, of course, we get the classic, has to be addressed in every single book ever. I take the fertility suppressant. Of course, we both do. The last thing anyone wants are little quadrant babies running around, but it's better said than sorry. And he says, same. It's just like, you can't, it just makes me laugh every time. And they always have some weird, whatever. I take
Fantasy.
yeah, fantasy, some sort of whatever to say they're on. Fertility suppressants. What's the word I'm looking for? Birth control. That. Yes. And it's just like, I don't know. It just makes me laugh every time and roll my eyes a little bit. But just in case anyone was wondering, there won't be any quadrant babies.
They should start having babies and having them bond with baby dragons, and then they just grow up together.
Oh, like puppies and babies.
Yeah.
Like the Rooks?
Yeah.
Start on at 4 years old.
I had just a random line highlighted at this point, and my note just said, boy, I forgot how long this sex scene was.
It is.
It was,
In the middle of it, and I was like,
pages.
wow, we are still going. Okay. You go, girl.
And it's not the only one of this chapter section. Whew.
It's like what happens in a TV show and you're watching with family. You're like, do I look at them? Do I look at the screen? Like, I don't know what to do. This is going on way longer than I thought it would.
And then I think this is the first time of many times that we've heard Zayden already say it, just this chapter section where he says, you're going to be the death of me, Violet. That just kind of freaks me out. So let's hope
says
that
it a
that's
lot.
not- He says it so much.
Like a lot.
Does that mean something? I don't know.
Well, he's a man of his word, so.
I don't know. Anyways, they wrap up their activities and say, ironically, your bed is the only thing we didn't wreck. I just think that's so funny. Literally, the whole room is wrecked and shattered, except for the bed, conveniently. So they still just go to bed, snuggle up.
Afterwards, she presses him a little bit about the scars on his back. He says, I saw the opportunity to make a deal, and I took it. And she says, what kind of deal leaves us scars like that? And he said, the kind where I take personal responsibility for the loyalty of 107 kids the rebellion leaders left behind. And in return, we're allowed to fight for our lives in the Riders Quadrant instead of being put to death like our parents. I chose the chance of death over the certainty. This one hit me hard when I was reading it. And then the idea popped in my head of like, oh my gosh, because of his interaction with her mom, I was like, I bet it was her mom that did it. Ugh. Especially when he made the comment when they were with Dane's dad too, where he was like, oh, I've already like paid the price for that or whatever the comment was in passing. And I was like, oh man, I bet she was the one that did it, whatever it was. Because she said it wasn't like whipping marks. So I'm also curious as to what exactly happened. If they were just like, I don't know, cuts, or if they like threw daggers at him or something like that. I don't know. Very interesting. Either way.
Yeah. And then Zayden says, very dramatically, and whatever you do, don't fall for me. And I wrote, LOL, okay.
And then he leaves flowers for her in the morning. Right? Like, bro, you're not helping.
This is
That's
just so funny to me.
Goosebumps walk away. Whatever you do, don't fall for me. Like walks out.
It's such a as the kids say, gives me the ick when people like. It's, I don't know, it has this air of like pretentiousness about it and being like, oh, I'm just too dangerous for you. Don't do it. Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those phrases that I hate seeing written or said or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, obviously, you're probably going to fall for me, so just try not to. I know it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
If anyone had ever said that to me, that would be like a sure way for me to listen. Like, oh, we're done and done. I will not do that now.
See you later. Have a good life.
For some reason, I keep reading it as like I want there to be a hair flip. Like, he has bangs in his face.
100%.
Don't fall for me.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right.
That's just what I'm picturing.
Especially with the ... That's what's happening in there.
Yeah, it's a new adult book, so it is like early 20s, but there are still some lines like this that read kind of young adult. Some of the writing sometimes feels like that, but I mean, he's 23.
You should know better.
Kyle.
Depending on the person. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they continue their conversation, and she asks, why do you think I could lightning wield? Because he had said earlier, Jon brought it up, and he said it was the first time you kissed me. So I went back to the first time they kissed. So this is from chapter 22. This is her, and they're kissing for the first time. And she says, I surrender completely, melting into him, my body going pliant against his, and losing that mental foothold he calls grounding. A flash of light burns behind my closed eyes, followed by the boom of thunder. And then she goes on to talk about like thunder snow or something, and how that's like normal around here. Mm-hmm. But he like abruptly ends the kiss after that, and is just like, it almost like snaps him out of this weird, you know, he's definitely high, but also making out with her and high on love. And then that like snaps him out of that moment. But that, I believe, is the first time she actually wielded lightning. So there it is.
While we're in that moment too, because Lauren and I were talking about that whole scene when we were talking about this, he was high when he said that she had touchable skin. And Lauren and I were saying that
it's so funny.
Lauren and I were saying that maybe he was just high, and he's like, wow, your skin is so touchable, bro.
Jon.
He's like feeling up her arms.
Yeah.
Wow, her skin is so touchable.
It goes on forever. Oh, wait. Her fingers.
That's funny. And then Vi's first lesson with Carr mentions, he says, your dragon doesn't trust me, and considering he's the most powerful of them in the quadrant at the moment, Taryn interjects into her mind, he says, but not the continent. And I thought this was very interesting. Mm-hmm. This made my ears perk up big time. And I was thinking, okay, Coda maybe, like Melgren's dragon, because when we first see him, it says that he's even bigger than Taryn. Yeah. So that would be my first guess. Mm-hmm. But I also secretly kind of hope, but if there is a freaking unknown dragon somewhere out there that the humans don't know about, I'm literally going to freak out. I'm going to lose my mind. Like if there's like an elder dragon of sorts that like no human has ever seen, that kind of like
they don't leave the veil or something?
Yeah, that like runs the dragons, basically. But the human,
that would be cool.
Like, unlike Taryn, this one literally never bonds. Like, his job is to, you know...
run the Empyrean or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. If that happens, I'm literally going to lose my mind.
What if that's sort of on the other end of that spectrum, it's Andarna, and he just knows that she's going to grow up to be more powerful than he is? Like, well, she's more powerful than I am.
Well,
because she's a baby.
Well, but he says most powerful of them in the quadrant at the moment, and she's technically in the quadrant.
Yeah, but she's a baby.
She's in the quadrant. Yeah, that's
She's
fair.
just
She's
a
still
baby.
a baby, so she
She's a
probably would be
little
the
baby.
most powerful.
Yeah. Didn't he say
Ooh,
she
I like
grows
that,
up in like
Kyle.
2 years or something?
Huh?
Yeah.
Does this?
Yeah, she's only 2 right now.
Oh, never mind. I knew it was quick, though.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like that,
I like
though.
that. Yep, same.
I like the secret dragon, too, though. I like the...
Secret dragon.
the unknown boss.
Yes.
Carr finishes that line saying your dragon doesn't trust me, which means you don't trust me either. And my only note was like, I don't trust literally anyone in a position of authority here, to be honest. Like, there's no professor or anyone that has like had any redeeming quality yet.
Yep.
And he's got an orange dragon, and those are the unpredictable ones. I don't know that I trust anyone with
like
an orange dragon.
The like nice professors that I would consider are the 2 battle brief ones,
Right.
like Markham, and I forget the other one's name.
Devera.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Devera, yeah.
Or they're like hiding information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like once that happened, I was just like, oh, okay, so none of the higher ups basically can
They're-
be
Fall out the
trusted.
window.
They're either outright hiding something or at least complicit in others hiding things.
Exactly.
So-
Yep. We're on the same page, Kyle.
Well, going on with just Carr and him just kind of being the worst, he was talking about how like nature needs everything in balance and stuff. And he says he's found a correlation of sorts that keeps the system of checks on power, and yours seems to be your body. And this just goes back to me talking earlier that nobody immediately believes her, just completely writes her off. I just wrote here, boo to Carr. She's literally standing there with the freaking coolest signet ever that you haven't seen in 100 bajillion years. But
Yeah.
let's talk about how she's little. Sure. That's the most important
Okay.
thing.
It also like I feel like you could come back at him with that to be like, oh, so you think people like myself would get better powers, so you should recruit people who have
Good
weaker
point.
circumstances if
Yeah.
you really want. Like it makes no
They're gonna fall
logical
off the
sense.
parapet.
Yeah, like
Yep.
if he
Yeah,
really
that's a
thinks that's going to
great
happen,
point.
then
That's true.
Yeah, because they're all about like the strongest and the whatever. But then if they're not getting the cool signets, an
Yeah.
interesting take.
I like it. So Carr is trying to get her to figure out how to wield and like
Yeah, he
get the
is.
feeling back. Like if it was an emotional response, try to feel whatever you were feeling. And Sharon says, should I get the wing leader?
Iconic.
It's my favorite line.
Kyle and I were talking about it, and I was like, that line is like everywhere, and everyone talks
Yes.
about it. It's one of his most famous. So good.
Nice.
I asked her if that voice actor guy that you were talking about that sort of does some of his lines.
Michael
had ever
Yoke,
done that
yeah.
line. I didn't know
I'm
if he
sure
had
he
ever
does.
done that line or not. Because I've heard some of his narrations before. Okay, I say some of. The only one I've heard is "I Know Who and What You Are," Violet Swordgill.
Oh.
But I don't know if he had like tried to do everything he says. Because to be honest, Taran doesn't say much. I feel like it'd be
Right.
easy to speed through this first book and just pick out all his quotes and say them. But
Yeah.
He like partnered with Rebecca Yarros when Iron Flame was coming out. And so a lot of
so.
it was just certain quotes from Fourth Wing. He didn't. It wasn't just like some dude on the internet making the quotes. Like,
no,
it was
yeah,
like
I
a
get you.
partnership thing, and I don't know all.
I
The
feel
ones
like
that
this
he
was
did,
one of
but
them.
I'm sure it is because it's like,
Yeah.
like I said, it's iconic. It's everywhere. I have a freaking stickers for my Kindle that says that. So if it's on my Kindle, then obviously it's famous. In all of this, she starts trying to figure out how to feel that feeling, I guess. Zayden kind of gets like a little tingle watch on his end. I don't know what's happening, where he's like, do you need something? Kind of a thing. And she was, kind of explaining the situation. And he said, there's nowhere in existence you could go that I wouldn't find you violence. When I was reading this, I was swooning so hard. Like, oh, it's so cute. And they're just so in love. But then I was typing it here for my notes for that moment. And I was like, also, this is kind of creepy. Just a little bit. Like, there's nowhere in existence you could go that I wouldn't find you, violence. Like, a little creepy, depending on how you take it. So,
I mean, like we've said before, there's a lot of things that book boyfriends do that are red flags in real life. This would be one of them.
yes, it would.
Yeah. And following that, he sort of shows his memories of last night, and I'm not sure how
Yeah, he
I
does.
feel about Vi getting Zayden's sexual POV and being super into it. I was like, is this narcissism? She's watching from his eyes, her enjoying their moment? Is it autosexuality? I need to Google a few things. Be right back. I'm going to Google.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Google, turn safe search off.
Kyle.
Well, my only note here was the sweating, red-faced tongue out emoji. So let me know what you find out.
Wow.
In the group chat later. Here's what I found.
Oh my gosh, stop.
Here's your diagnosis.
Oh, my word. Your diagnosis. I just love it when she actually does the lightning and then Carr says, now do it again. And it just says, Terran chortles. The use of that word just makes me laugh so hard too.
It makes you
so
chortle.
It makes me chortle.
All right, John, this is your moment.
Moving into chapter 31, probably my busiest note chapter of all time. My first note. This is when Violet started cleaning up the aftermath of the hot shadow lightning sex. Xaden comes to visit her, and they're cleaning up, and it says, he leans down and picks up my favorite book of fables, the one Mira slipped into my rucksack once we'd gotten back to Montserrat that night. And I was like, yes, she has it back. Get to reading, baby girl. Like, let's get that information. Come on. I'm surprised she hasn't. We get a little bit of her, like, recounting in her mind the stories a little bit. But, like, I want, like, let's get it. Let's get the info. Like, come on. We need it.
Read it to us on page.
Yeah, literally, just read it.
Yeah.
This would be a really fun bonus book to actually have.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
This would be incredible. It would.
That would be fun.
It would.
Ooh.
And make it look like a children's book and everything.
With a little note
A board book. But this is where Violet tugs the parchment free from where it's been tucked behind the binding. And I went, Kyle.
Yes.
I was like, oh, the binding, you say.
The binding. The glue.
It's all coming together.
So, yes, she finds the note. It says, it only takes one desperate generation to change history, even erase it. And I'm like, okay, this further solidifies the theory that information on the rebellion was either tampered with or hidden, omitted from the general population, or just plain like lied about. I feel like it's a pretty good chance that is what's happening here.
Yeah, I'm all in currently on the corrupt government hiding what true evil is. Dad hiding government secrets and fables for his kids to figure out and save the world.
I saw a random theory today that I don't think it really is a thing because the archives have been where they are for such a long time. But somebody was like, I think the dragons are the ones who destroyed the information before. And that's why it's now like underground and a fireproof thing, like in the archives or like fireproof and whatever. But I was like, but also it's really old paper. Makes sense that it would be like somewhere really heavily protected, safe.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
it's
know.
still away from dragons because it's like there
Right.
are a lot of dragons around. So if anything
Yeah.
were to happen,
Which
like,
means a
yes,
lot of
keep them away
fire.
from very hot fire. Yeah.
I would hope that this whole area is like pretty ready to go in instances that are fire based. Like the
Right.
fire department is on point.
Fire department. It's just all the water wielders.
Water
Yeah.
wielders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The BFD. Yes, and then so yeah, she's flipping through the book. She's thinking of all the stories she's recounting, and one of them, she says, is about the dangers of wielding a power from the ground instead of the skies, as one could easily start drawing magic from the earth and eventually be driven mad. My first question was, I feel like I'm thinking of a different book. Is there somebody with like an earth signet or earth magic or something?
I think so.
No, there's like
Right,
air
like
wielders.
ability to grow trees or something like that.
Not
No.
that we've seen.
No, I didn't think so. Okay. But so I read this and I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, what does this mean? Is this type of magic, or if it would be developed as a signet forced, or can you like learn this type of magic, or would they have it as an earth magic signet of some kind, but because of this, they wouldn't really be able to use it because of what the story says? Like, if they were to use it, they would just like go mad. I don't know. What does it all mean? I don't know.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And then another one, to teach children about the dangers of too much power. It says, no one wants to become Venin. They're the monsters that hide beneath our beds when we have nightmares. And we certainly never want to try to control magic without a dragon to ground us. But that's all they are, children's bedtime stories. I was like, yeah, okay, clearly not children's bedtime stories. And my guess is that Venin are also something else entirely and not what the book describes. So maybe it's just like, maybe Venin or what they call surviving riders without dragon, so they like still have magic but are somehow like unwieldy because they don't have a dragon to tamper that power.
Like their dragon dies, but they don't die.
Yeah, I don't know. But and then I also thought, like, why don't they want to control magic without the dragon? Like, is it just a means for a person not to have like unlimited power or something? I know they kind of describe the dragons are basically, like I said, being a limiter, so to speak. But what happens when a writer or someone with magic is just free with that power? Is that even possible? I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing, and maybe I missed it, but they say if a writer dies, the dragon might die, or at least be super sad for a few decades.
Yeah.
But does it say what happens to a signet if the dragon somehow dies and the writer lives?
Right.
Like, do they lose their magic entirely, or do they explode? Or do they instantly die if the dragon dies?
First line of the book is a dragon without their writer is a tragedy, and a writer without their dragon is dead.
Yeah, I don't think
that can be
I don't
taken
think that's-
figuratively.
Yeah, I think it just means the same way. No, listen, because I think it means the same thing as what he said about his saddle. It is leather on the back, because if fire hits his back, she's dead, so he doesn't have to worry about the saddle anymore. So I think what it's saying is, if you're a writer and your dragon is dead, you're as good as dead. Not you instantly die, but you might as well be.
Yeah.
I thought they do talk about that with the bond a little bit, because it was like, if the bond is strong enough and the rider dies, that alone would be enough to kill the dragon. Mm-hmm. And so they usually talk about it like, because of the bond between the rider and dragon, if the dragon dies for some reason, the rider definitely dies, because the dragons have more power than the riders, or like, like the dragon has the power, so it's stronger like on their end. So for a rider, they like can't survive without it once they're bonded.
Yeah, which is why if they're saying if Violet dies, that will most likely kill Tern because of his connection. And then if he dies, that would probably kill Sigale because they're mates. And then if Sigale dies, that's Satan's dragon. So that whole like chain reaction of things.
Say that yes, first line of the book. It is also from the Codex, which was written by an institution that I don't fully trust. So I don't know how true that can be. And the fact that this book sort of hints at the fact that power can be pulled from multiple areas, I don't even know how necessary the dragons truly are. If you can pull magic from the earth, maybe they just made it into some sort of a scary story for children just so that people wouldn't do that. And like John said, have that magic just on their own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whispering.
And then, yes, Vi and Xaden, they are discussing their feelings. She says, you said not to fall for you. Did you change your mind? And he said, absolutely right. Or absolutely not. And she said, oh, right. And internally she said, I didn't expect that to hurt as much as it does, which is part of the problem. I'm already too emotionally involved to separate out the sex, no matter how phenomenal it is. And I just wrote, I know, Violet. I know. I get it, girl.
Is that a compliment to me? Or
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
While we're here, I'll reiterate, the don't fall for me crap, can't handle it. It's still...
But this is why I love that Violet's like, you don't get to dictate how I feel, sir. Like, she doesn't go along with it. She's like, no, that's not how this works.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and she says, and we'd have all this time in the world to figure it out if you'd stop acting like such an emotional chicken shit and just admit that you're going to fall for me too if we keep this up.
That's
I was
right.
like, yeah, girl, tell him.
She calls him out.
Yeah, I know, it's
all
amazing.
All the good stuff. All the good stuff. Then, so she thinks that thought, and then immediately after, she says, here's the thing. I don't think I can separate sex from emotion when it comes to you. And I was like, wow, she said what she was feeling in the moment she was feeling it. A novel idea. Appreciative golf clap for Rebecca. Like, oh my goodness.
Oh, man.
Holy cow. Wow. Oh. And then we get into some stuff. Okay.
Yeah, we do.
So I just had a couple
getting flustered.
notes here. They're brief. They're simple. The first one was warm and hard. And I wrote, gulp.
She also commented on just him in general. She said, he does have an incredible body, but he doesn't get to dictate what I do with my heart. And I wrote, yeah! But he can tell you what to do with the rest of you, am I right?
Yes, he can.
Amazing.
And to continue on, those breathy little sounds you make right before you, I was just like, another gulp. And then how hot and slick you feel around at this point, my mouth is hanging open. At this point, my mouth is dropped. It's open. Jaw dropped.
And then Satan's jaw clenches once. twice.
Oh,
Drink up,
twice in a
everybody.
row.
We got a double
sip.
jaw clench.
Yes. After they have this discussion, because they've been recounting their time together, they do some shameless flirting, recounting some recent events. I love this. She says, "I never figured you for a liar, Xaden," and she shoves the halves of her throwing target at his chest. "You can get me a new one when you're ready to come to your senses. Then we can blow off some steam." I throw the aggravating man out. I was like, I love this whole interaction from Violet. Girl, tell that man how you feel, that he can't control that. You feel what you feel on your own terms. Yes, queen. Get it?
And then she just kicks him out.
And she kicks him out. Like, go on, get. It's great. And then had to call out this sentence. "He looks scrumptious this morning." And I was like, this is literally the perfect sentence. And also, why am I blushing? Oh my God. Stop it. It's great.
And then his jaw flexes again. Drink. I love that you guys drink with me every time we do that.
Of course.
Yes, that's our
We
new
have to.
thing on this season.
I love it.
And then they're all in like the cafeteria or something. I forget where this is,
Yeah.
but Liam sets his glass down and glances between Xaden and Violet, shaking his head as he fights his smile. This is when Violet kind of catches him off guard with some of her comments. And first of all, for here, I said, "Liam, my Liam, the man lives." Yes. We knew he was alive, but at the same time. But also, I was like, they almost got him, Kyle. Our boy lives for now.
Oh,
For now.
For now.
you gotta ruin
God.
such a great moment.
Still very possible with his history and relationship at this point.
No,
but
that
see
was
what
his
happens.
moment.
And I forget what exactly she says. I guess it's not important really what she says, but
Isn't it?
She says, "Undoing those flight leathers and wrapping my lips around yours."
oh, that's right.
She was going to
And
get
then-
on her knees.
And then it says Xaden chokes, and I just put, "Well played, Violet. He won't be the one choking next time, though." Hey-o! We don't have to put that in if we don't want to.
No, I think we have to.
I just love that
Oh
that
my
whole
gosh.
scene just went by and I didn't have a single note because you had them all, John. I'm
No,
so proud
thanks.
of you.
So proud.
Because of these few notes, I thought it was really funny that we started and we're like, while the four of us tend to keep our conversations on the less explicit side.
Well, these aren't our conversations, so,
Yeah.
our conversations are, but these are their conversations.
I guess that's
Yeah,
true.
we're
Good point.
discussing themes from this book. We said that
And
at the
quotes.
beginning.
Lots of
That's
quotes.
good. Okay, all right.
It's just this episode. It'll be fine.
Yes.
Is it?
And then, of course, there's another time she feels a familiar prickle along her scalp, so I had to say tingle watch. But also, I was wondering about this, if this is simply a presence thing, or does he have to be looking at her for her to feel this? It's mostly when he just comes into the room, I feel like, but she's also sometimes mentioned that she can feel his stare or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I noted here too, mostly because this happened pre-Dragon Bond, what exactly
Yes.
it is about him that does this.
Yeah.
Because it was prior to their own mental connection.
Right.
Is he
Right.
is it a shadow prickle? He has to have something else he's doing. As if he's reading her in some way, somehow, that we all get frustrated with Dane doing, I'm not going to be pleased.
Oh,
If we
yes,
ever
okay.
learn that he was just I don't know if they have some sort of light ability like that.
Yeah.
Shadow
it.
prickling.
Shadow prickle.
What's your signet? I'm a shadow prickler.
And then Xaden says, "I haven't changed my mind, Violence. There's no future for us." And he was just saying this with such finality here that just made me feel like he maybe knows something about their relationship that she doesn't. Maybe it's that they can't pursue it in a really long-term or permanent way because of maybe Taryn and Segile's bond, or perhaps it's something to do with her mom and whatever happened between her and Xaden with that whole thing. I don't know. I said, I feel like it can't be so simple as he's afraid of a little commitment. But now at this point, it's like, maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Maybe he was just like really afraid to open up. But how she's been developing their relationship, that there's just like more that he knows. And maybe it's just the secrets that, he has or whatever.
Those secrets, whatever those are.
Yeah, exactly.
I put sort of in response to yours that I don't think it would be because of anyone else. Because Xaden claims he doesn't care what anyone thinks. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think he's not lying when he says that. Mm-hmm. I think it comes from sort of the more self-centric insecurity he may have in his own ability to hold or maintain a relationship to the standards that he set for himself. Because he has so much else on his plate that he just doesn't see him being able to measure up to his own standards.
Yeah.
Of what he wants.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yep.
Sure.
Personally, in this part, I was just screaming at him here for not just saying no when she asked if there was someone else.
Oh, yeah.
he never actually answered that. I mean, he talks about it later. He's like, of course not. But he doesn't just answer her here. I'm like, you are torturing this poor girl.
Well, the beginning of the book was all about the squad and just her, getting to know her friends and all the things. And this chapter section has just been so much about her and Xaden, which I'm totally here for.
Yeah.
But I had to point out the one moment we get of Riddick doing something completely Riddick-like, because we hadn't seen any of that yet. In class, it says, also, we expect each and every one of you in the courtyard in front of Basgiath tonight at 9 o'clock for fireworks to celebrate Reunification Day. Dress uniforms only. She lifts her brow at Riddick. He shrugs. What else would I be wearing? And she says, one never knows what you'll come up with. Riddick. I just love that all the teachers know. It's just like who he is. Everyone just accepts it.
Don't
He's
they
just
always?
like,
I forgot to put a note in here, but I did have a note that just says, in college, fireworks at 9, I'm so down for. If you told me that any event started at 9 now, I would not show up.
I'm not going.
For sure.
Yeah.
no, I'm asleep by 9.
Yeah. I'm like, no thanks. In dress uniform, shove it. Not going.
Well, and I'm like, fireworks. My kids are sleeping at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's not that they have quadrant babies, but, But speaking of their dress uniforms, Violet goes with the high neck sleeveless option to hide her armor and the flowing floor length skirt with the slit up the thigh. I am obsessed with this. Where can I find a dress like this for Enchanticon 2025? That's what I want to know. That's my question.
Let's go shopping.
Yes.
At
If you
the
got it,
writer's
send me a
quadrant.
link.
Let's be financially responsible. Oh, dang it.
That sounded exactly like the thing, Kyle. Good job.
Thank you. I am chronically online.
Well, on the way to the party, they're all going together as a big little group.
A big little group.
I know, I'm laughing about it too after I said it. I'm just excited to see some people who aren't writers, Riddick says, holding door open so they can all pass through the tunnel. It's getting kind of incestuous around here. And Rhiannon's like, I agree. And I was like, wow, okay, so that's what everyone else is up to. We've been all hanging out with Xaden and Violet for a minute, but
Makes
the
sense.
rest of the group is still being friendly.
Getting around town.
Around.
That's understandable.
This is Violet to Liam at the big party. She says, I was hoping you'd been given the night off. Don't you look handsome? And I would totally ship them if it wasn't for Xaden. But I love that it's already starting. I love that like their friendship is already forming in this way. But I could see this going into like a really, really tight, especially if he's going to be around for a bit and still kind of still be her bodyguard and stuff. So
Yes.
we'll see.
I love
Because
him.
he's basically Xaden's brother, because they
Yeah, that's
were
true.
fostered together. So it's like
Yeah.
they, I don't know, have that kind of relationship going for them. But it's almost like he's what she was hoping Dane would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Guy, best
yeah.
friend.
Okay,
Yeah.
You know?
I like
That's
that.
good. I like that, yeah, too. And then we get a little description of the party. We got some mage lights hanging above us in the form of a dozen chandeliers, and drapes of rich velvets cover the stone walls of Basgiath, transforming the functional outdoor space into a ballroom of sorts. There's even a string quartet playing in the corner. And I was like, this is my kind of party right here, but a jazz band instead, not the string quartet. That's
Big
nice,
jazz
but
band.
a big jazz band, get
Yeah.
the party Get the party rolling.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
Some house jazz. You like
Sipping my
jazz?
sherry.
We've talked about how, or I guess maybe I've talked about this. I don't know if I've talked about it with you, but I would love to do like a vow renewal one day or something that's just like really just an excuse to throw like a big party with all of our friends. Because our wedding was so fun. It was so much fun.
Whenever we do it, we're going to have to save up and try and
Wasn't
get Richard
tired.
Cheese to play for us.
Get who?
You guys need to look up. You guys need to look up Richard Cheese.
Oh, Richard
Look up
Cheese,
Richard
yeah.
Cheese.
He's
Yeah.
the one that you've listened to me with a few times, Lord. And like in the car when it randomly shows up, and it's some real jazzy lounge singer remaking a 90s
yeah.
rock song.
Yep.
Yep.
Covers. Yep.
I did not
Yep.
know his last name was Cheese, but
Yeah.
sure.
Dick Cheese.
Yep.
Yeah.
Richard Cheese.
Yeah.
That's his name.
My God. Well, if
Yep.
you do a vow renewal, I want to be there this time because I
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
get to
for
go to
sure.
your
Okay.
wedding. So
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Okay.
sweet.
Deal.
Let's do it.
Great.
See you there.
So, speaking of Liam being the best of the best of the best forever and ever, he says, I go where you go. What a
friends.
man. I just love him. I don't think we've talked about this part yet, but she knows that this whole reunification celebration thing is like celebrating
right.
the execution of his parents, basically.
Yeah.
He's the only marked one there, and she's
Yep.
kind of freaking out about that. Like, I cannot believe this. She's trying to get him to leave, and he just says, I
Well, she
go where
thinks
you
Zayden
go.
did it. Like, forced him or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Right. Yeah, but he's like, nope.
He chose
I
to
go
do
where
it
you
for
go.
her. Yeah.
He's the best. This, though, I don't think I'd ever thought about before, but King Towery and General Sorengale are walking up, and Violet whispers to Liam, like, go. She's trying to get him to leave the party. And then General Melgren joins the two of them, like, approaching. And it says, Melgren may be brilliant, but he's also unnerving as fuck to be around. And then Liam says, when your greatest danger approaches, I think not. And his spine straightens. And I was like, who does he mean, though? Like, who is he talking about? Melgren?
Yeah,
Or is he talking about General
highlighted this.
Sorengale or King Towery, who we
Very
don't know like anything
interesting.
about at this point? I don't think I noticed that before, but
What do you think, Kyle?
I'll go with Mom still. I feel like interesting.
I feel like it makes sense for him being what do they call
a
him?
marked one.
Yeah, a marked one.
yeah.
For him saying that.
Yeah.
But wasn't Melgren's dragon the one who made the rebellion
I
marks?
think we know that, maybe.
I thought we did.
Because I have a note about that later that I didn't know if we knew who that was.
We do get information later in this chapter section that says like a dragon was the one
we
that
just know
made
it's-
the relics,
Oh,
it's
we
my
don't know who-
pre-chap
okay.
for next one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
but it doesn't
Yeah,
tell us.
I don't know. But this was sneaky. It was like
Was.
the King Towery and General Sorengale, and then there was like a paragraph, and then Melgren joins them, and she says that sentence about Melgren and her POV. And then Liam's like, when your greatest danger approaches, and I was like, wait a minute.
I feel like I want to go with Mom. She's the same level as Melgren in terms of like they're both generals, but I feel like her name comes up a lot more in the not so great activities. And honestly, the king, barely know him. For all I know, he's some, ditzy kid on a throne who these generals are playing like some puppet figurehead. Because he's like, don't start any wars.
He's just a delegate walking around like
Enjoy the party.
being a king.
Yeah, exactly.
But then we get another jaw flex, so cheers.
Whose jaw was it?
Liam's, I
Can't
believe.
remember. Liam, yeah.
Wow.
Being annoyed at the
jaw
people.
flex.
Yeah. But while the king is like going off about, and I think Melgren too, just about Zayden, and they keep calling him the Ryerson boy and whatever. And Violet goes through this whole in her own mind of reasons why he's better than everyone else and why she loves him, basically. One of those things is, it says, and when others are quick to stand in front of me, Zayden always stands by my side, trusting me to hold my own. That is my absolute favorite kind of book boyfriend. I could list you maybe 3 right now of all the books that I've ever read ever, where that specific quality is why I love them for forever and ever and ever and ever, is that they stand by and they do it together instead of and trust her to just like sometimes go off and do it herself, and they just kind of chill in the background while she's just like taking care of it because they're not just some jerk who thinks they're better than everyone or whatever. So, anyways, I just love that.
Zayden Ryerson.
And yes, when they approach Violet and Liam, and then King Towery is like, "You'll let us know if he decides to." Oh, I don't know. I start another war, and I'm like, I'm sorry, come a gun for Big Fudge? Like, what? Hold on a minute. What do you mean by that? This is like a big perked up my ears, definitely on this one.
Yeah.
Jerks.
Secrets.
Just let us know.
Yeah. Call us up. Well, and then, of course, you can't have a party without Dane showing up.
Ugh.
Freaking Dane. At least it's short, but still.
And he actually helps.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
He actually does something useful here.
Yeah, so Dane kind of helps cover for Liam and Violet leaving the party. And after they leave, Violet decides she's going to go find Xaden. And she goes, "Liam, you know I adore you, right?" And he goes, "Well, that's nice." She cuts him off and goes, "Go away." That exchange. That made me laugh. Well, that's nice.
Well, then she just has another cute interaction with Garrick and Bodhi whenever she goes to find Xaden and he is on the parapet. Garrick says, like, "You're not going to want to see him right now, like, not tonight. Self-preservation is a thing. Notice that we're not with him and we're his best friends." And she's like, "Well, I'm just," and like tries to think of how to justify that and just goes with, "I'm just his."
Whoa.
Wow.
Yes, John, melt in your
I
chair.
imagine
Keep going
the look
all
on
the
his
way.
friends.
Fall out of that chair. Keep going, John.
No, wait, that's how I broke mine. Be careful.
Going.
No, he had to back up a little bit. There you go. And he's gone.
And-
Okay, well, now that he's gone. Just kidding.
It doesn't really like go over it, but I love picturing like how these guys look at each other when she says that. Just like, oh, okay, well, all right. Yeah, you can say
They gotta know what's happening.
Yeah, but still. Just be
Welcome
like,
back
yeah,
to the
sure, go
podcast,
ahead.
John.
Thanks.
Enjoy your trip.
Okay, chapter 32, the last one. This is part of the pre-chap. This is what we were just talking about for a second ago. It says, "As for the 107 innocents, the children of the executed officers, they now carry what shall be known as a rebellion relic transferred by the dragon who carried out the king's justice." But we do not know, at least at this moment, I think, who carried out the king's justice. Because I could see it being Melgred, but I could also see it being the mom.
Word.
Like, sort.
Oh,
if she-
yeah.
I
Ames
could
her.
also, yeah. I don't
I
know.
hope that wasn't
Does
a
the
spoiler what I
king-
said. I don't think it is because I don't actually know.
I don't know. Does the king have a dragon? I don't know.
Oh, that's a good question. They put a king through the Rider's Quadrant?
I feel like to have a king with a dragon would be a waste of a dragon.
Word.
Protects the king. I don't know.
Why? I mean,
If it
isn't
came
that
down
what the
to
other
it.
dragons are supposed to do? Like all the right? He's supposed to run the country, supposedly. I mean, I don't think a dragon would be wasted, perched up on a castle, and to do what? Just in case all the other dragons fail.
Cool.
True. And this is at some point when she goes to visit Xaden on the parapet. I don't remember if it's after. She says, "The way he looks at me with the same mix of hope and apprehension currently flooding my system gives me absolute life." Oh my goodness. Knows how to write it. Yeah.
Write it or write it?
Right. Well done, Rebecca. You know how to write some good descriptors here
Yes.
on just like all this.
Yeah. Okay, so my next note, I'm going to kind of do these out of order just because it kind of goes together, and I should have thought of that earlier, but it's whenever she first gets out onto the parapet, and it said, you know, that he had the lives of all 107 marked ones carved into his back, taking responsibility for them. But who takes responsibility? Who takes care of him? So that was like her like main focus going out there. And then like when she finally convinces him to come off the parapet, his reaction is, "I'm just not in the place to take care of anyone tonight." Because that's his initial thought. Like as soon as he comes off the parapet, he's back into I'm taking care of everyone else mode. It's this one night or one moment where he's trying to take care of himself. So I don't know. I just feel bad for him, but also love that she's there for him in that whole moment. And this is also on the parapet when she finds out she's in love with Xaden, and she says it. She says, "I'm in love with Xaden." And my note here was same.
Same page. Yep.
Yep. And then I've been trying to do all the jaw flexes too because I knew that Con was doing it in these episodes, and you missed one. I'm so proud of it
Dang it.
whenever I got here. So everyone get ready. It says, you show in a million different ways. Please don't deny it. His jaw flexes, but he didn't deny it. Ooh, drink up.
Oh, there it is. Cheers.
I'm just glad I got one in there since you've been.
I appreciate
them all.
your dedication to the
I'm
bit.
just like I got you in the background. I got the rebounds. Sports. That's all my notes. I did them out of order, so it's
That's
fine.
okay. One little thing that I loved as they're walking back across the parapet, coming back to land. I don't know what to call it.
The castle, the tower, I don't know where they live.
Solid
the
ground.
citadel. I don't know. Solid ground. Yeah.
Citadel.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Isn't
I
it?
don't know.
Anyway, so Violet and Zayden are walking
The
back
porny.
across the parapet to safety. She says, I'm much better at this than I was last July. And Zayden says, in a fucking dress. And Vi goes, it's a skirt, actually. And she like turns around. He's like, eyes forward. I just love this because I feel like I would do this for sure. I would turn around and be like, actually, it's a skirt.
And it has
It's got
pockets.
pockets.
Yeah, it has pockets. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Well, then later, since we're talking about her dress, whenever they get back to his room and he finally notices what she's wearing, it's like, have you been wearing that all night? And she's like, well, you hadn't seen it from the front. And he says, I can't really argue about the view from the back either.
Hey-o.
I know.
And then she, in her POV, she thinks, I gaze down at his body and the craving for him ignites again. How could it not when he looks like the gods blessed him and feels like the gods blessed me? I said, LOL, gods watched.
Yes.
Stay
And
blessed.
going on with God's Watch, she says, oh, gods. And he says, which one are you calling out for? Because it's just you and me in this room, Vi, and I don't share. And she says, you, I'm calling out for you. He says, I appreciate the elevation to deity, but my name will do. Oh,
I think we made a bracelet that said my name will do for the Iron Flame
I
release
think we
party.
did too.
I think I've seen that one here floating around
Yeah.
somewhere.
Lauren, actually, I remember you talking about that one way long ago when you first read this book, because every once in a while, when Lauren gets aggravated around the house, like she stubs her toe or drops something, she'll go like, oh my God. I'll go, yes, around the corner.
You rang.
And I would usually just say something like, you can just say Kyle or, something. And then that's when you started telling me about this book.
I'm glad you don't remember it until it like has happened in the book. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this.
Because you haven't
then
talked about it for
nothing's
so
spoiled.
long. Yeah, it's like it refreshes my memory.
So they do some stuff together. They have some activities in the room. And then
Sports.
sports. And then they decide right after this part, they decide to go for 3. And then it cuts right to, we're going for 5 before they get interrupted. I was like,
A high five.
Get it, girl. Also, shout out to Jacinia for transcribing Violet's orgasm count into the modern language.
Poor Jacinia.
It's pertinent.
The important information.
She's detailed.
Yeah.
I mean, as a scribe,
Those
you can't just
scribes.
edit it out, I
Yeah,
guess you
she's
could.
committed to her
or I just don't
craft.
hold the power.
But this, though, this needs to stay.
Yeah, this is the important stuff.
Maybe she upped it in the translation just to make it better for her friend. Like, 4? I will go for 5. Come on now.
This other person's the main bad guy. No, we can delete that because we need to have more information about this scene in the bedroom.
I imagine her like hurriedly writing this down because someone needs the information, and they're like, "Have you found out what happened?" They're like, "They're just having a lot of sex right now. I'm so sorry. Hold on."
Well, the last line of the chapter and of this chapter section is when Garrick starts knocking on the door and he says, grab your flight leathers and you'd better bring Sorengale with you too. We're under attack. And that's how we stop.
Oh my gosh. Gasp.
What a cliffhanger.
Weird that
Yeah.
the dragons didn't tell them, but whatever.
True. Good point.
Yeah, that is a good point. Because the dragons told him at Montserrat with the griffins.
Yeah, unless they just had blocked him out because of what they were doing.
I mean, I feel
That's a
like
good point.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but that's the end of this chapter section, which means it's time for some reflection, boys. What are your overall thoughts? Are you excited to finish book 1?
Very excited to keep the story rolling. Kind of bittersweet that we're finishing book 1 already, but loving it all. No notes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm as excited to finish as Zayden and Violet are.
Hey,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not that excited. I don't know.
Pretty excited. You
Yeah.
going for 3?
Going for 5?
Going for 5. It's a 5-book series, right?
I believe it is.
We're all going for 5.
Yeah, we are. Oh my god. It is crazy though that we're at the end of book 1 already.
It is. That felt
nuts.
fast.
One more chapter section.
Yeah.
And so much has happened.
I know.
Crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
so what are your thoughts on characters? Are any of your impressions changing? Or how do you feel now that, like, I don't know, we lost Jack or any of those types of things?
Lost. Glad that Liam.
The air quotes.
I gotta support my boy.
Your boy Jack or your boy Kyle?
No, my boy Kyle.
Oh.
Why would I be supporting Jack? Anyway,
Yeah, why would
how
you
you
say that, Lauren?
why would literally the
That's what Connor
dumbest thing
thought.
you've ever said?
That's what Connor thought, and I was trying to clarify it for my best friend.
So embarrassing for you.
Oh my god.
Yes.
So glad that Liam survived. I really do hope that he plays an integral part in the story as a side character. But it's still very possible, that he could go with his backstory and how close they are. But I know I don't like it either. But you know what? I'm definitely warming up to Zayden. Okay.
Yeah, you are.
But he definitely knows stuff, not only about her mom that she's not aware of, but about the rebellion. I'm sure of it. And we'll see how it comes into play with the information.
I'm only like 83% sure Jack is dead. There's a 70% chance he's
So
alive.
specific.
I know we don't see bodies a lot in the story. We talked about this earlier, due to incineration or whatever, or make a big deal of death in general, but I just feel like it was a quick death for someone sort of built to be a major contender in this part of the story. Like, so much promise leading up to like such a big fight, and then it was just like dead.
Splat.
Yeah. I'm also glad Liam is alive for now. I still, more than anything, just want more secrets from the Soaring Gales. The more we learn about them, the more questions there are.
Yes.
Even like as we were talking about it earlier, it had me thinking this is sort of something that's been bothering me and does bother me with all fictional characters. Her hair goes from brown to white, Violet.
Silver.
Silver. Yeah. White silver.
Since
whatever.
birth, correct? This is like a...
Yep.
So hair...
And no matter where it's cut, it
Right.
always like fades out.
There's something up with this about her
Right.
genealogy or something that is affecting her in that way. And that I feel like has got to come up, especially because, I looked back and it was like, no matter which way we cut it, the ends are... It's weird. It's weird and not
I agree.
appropriate for a young lady.
Oh my gosh.
No, I don't know. It just makes me feel like something's up with like the way she was born or something to do with that. But yeah. Something about Violet specifically. I think there's more secrets in her than we think. Even though she's like super upfront, very honest with herself and others, there's something about her that she doesn't know.
Yeah.
The main character
Okay.
has character development still? Oh, wow.
She already
of a
had
5-book
character
series?
development.
Secrets from the Soaring Gales sounds like a reality show that I would
does.
definitely watch. So
100%.
just had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
All right, so what are your thoughts and theories leading up to the end of book 1? Like, the next episode is the end. So
feel
where
like-
are we at?
I feel like I was rambling a lot by the the end of this thought. I feel like I started strong, but then I was like, my mind just took me places. I feel like if there's an attack on Basgiath, even though we know nothing else at this point, it's a pretty good chance that there's a conspirator. I'm guessing it's one of the higher ups. Like, who attacked? Was it just a big group of griffins? Nope, probably not. Wyverns? Somehow, even though they've like never been seen or something in this world, or they're like almost something of fairy tales, right? In this one, maybe, or could it be the Venom? Only they're not necessarily the monsters from the Book of Fables. Possibly. Either way, there have only been attacks like on the border posts, which is like definitely someone helping this along or like breaking, because I'm assuming there are wards around the college for sure. Absolutely. So something's got to be happening with those. Also, yes, if it was attacked, then I feel like there's no way that it's still safe there. Or maybe they'll just keep moving right along with things. Maybe they move everyone to a different location, like the writers go to posts or something. I don't know. I feel like something major has to happen, or maybe we don't get like a really final resolution at the end of this book. Like maybe we get kind of through the attack and they're like still kind of recovering and still kind of figuring out like what to do. They're left with more questions than answers. Or Xaden knows something Vi doesn't, and gets her out of there, because once they like find out who's attacking, he's like, we gotta go, and then they're just like boop, and then they bolt somewhere with some other marked ones and maybe a couple other of their squad, and Basgiath just like falls, kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Major.
all right.
Well, after hearing that, I'm going to say mine, but I'm also going to weave in what Jon said.
Weave away.
Tapestry.
Oh, yes.
I believe as well in the corruption of those in power. However, I'm also starting to think that these people are closer to Vi than we may realize, and perhaps we already knew. Suspect Dane of being a right dipwad. And so this is like where I want to pull some of what you said. There's people there that are making this attack happen because it is very convenient to be on a night where all of the riders are out of their flight leathers. They're at a party. They're commingling, not really ready to fight.
Probably drunk.
And what makes it even more suspicious of Dane is that, like, if he's been using his gift every time he touches Vi that I've mentioned, he even does it at one point tonight. I think at the party, he does it when he greets her, which I didn't mention this time, but he does. He may know more about what she's been doing with Xaden, and maybe even more about, like, these rebellion relics than he should. And then immediately after that, he meets with two generals and the king and talks to them about who knows what.
I think it's opposite of that. Like, he meets with the generals and whatever, and then he, like, walks, because they leave Violet to go talk to Dane. And then Dane comes over and talks to them.
Okay, well,
right?
But Dane helps them leave, so maybe he was doing that so he could
I don't know. I still
conspire.
He's weird. But kind of going along with that, like, maybe, Xaden does know something, takes Violet away, like, they are with, like, the rebellion folks, but then, like, if Dane knows that she's with them, then that could probably cause some major drama if they're going off campus without permission or whatever. And I'm still Team Dead Liam and Living Brennan. I stand by that. Liam's gonna die, Brennan's gonna live.
These are terrible team names.
Okay, Team Dead Liam, I think, is still fine. Team Breathing Brennan.
Breathing Brennan.
It's at least alliteration that time. I honestly don't think Xaden and Vi fully commit openly in this book. I just don't think we have the time for it, nor do they have the means to do so. Like, there's so little time left in this book, chapter-wise, that I don't think we're going to really see this, yes, we are together forever, even as, like, besties or whatever sort of thing. I think the rest of the book is going to be focused on, like, oh my gosh, we got attacked. Action, 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 action. And then moving into the next book without much relationship talk, but there will be a little maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
I can see that.
All right. Well, that moves us to the cry counter, which we have officially started. And when I say we, I mean me. And it's because I cried when Violet finds out if Mira was okay, and then Darna comforts her in the fight field. So precious. And it almost got two of you. So maybe next time.
Yeah, it did.
Because the end of the book could be crazy wazy.
Crazy wazy.
Crazy wazy.
You heard it here first.
Crazy cupcakes.
It's going to be a crazy episode. And a scribe quadrant.
Exactly. Well, that's all we have for you guys for episode 4. Join us next week for the end of the freaking book. We will also be discussing all 3 bonus chapters for Fourth Wing in a bonus episode following the release of episode 5. So make sure you're following us at Between Pages and Friends on Instagram for updates, episode schedules, and general bookish shenanigans.
And for even more general bookish shenanigans, this is your reminder to check out our Patreon. Visit our website, betweenpagesandfriends.com, for the Patreon link. Merchity merch, our Amazon storefront with all of our favorite things, GoodReads, StoryGraph links, and more. Until next time, stay wordy, stay nerdy, don't stress, and stay blessed.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Get out of here, you crazy kids.
Girl, bye. You
Scram.
crazy kids.
I don't want you here.
Band, play us out.
Actually, we do. Thank you for listening.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, we got a new song. Do people like the new song?
Nobody said anything about it yet.
Oh,
Tell us in the comments.